population, and I'm just reviewing for the camera here. So we're looking at a population. We know that about 8.3% of the population has diabetes, if you can zoom in on that. You see what I mean? And then we know that 91.7% do not have diabetes. We administer a test. For those who have diabetes, the test is correct. The test that we give them to see if they have diabetes is correct 98% of the time. It's incorrect 2% of the time. If we give them the test and they don't have diabetes, it will say they don't have diabetes 95% of the time. It'll be correct. But 5% of the time, it won't be correct. It'll say they have diabetes when they don't. You see what I mean? So that's whether the diagnosis is correct or not correct. Now to get here, we multiply these two values, okay, because this is an and. You're a diabetic who the test said you are a diabetic. So it's this, you are a diabetic, and what? The test said you had diabetes. So that's how we got this percentage out here. We're going to do it write it as a decimal. Same thing here. You're not a diabetic, and the test said you're not a diabetic. And we're going to see what we get there. So, and then we're going to add these because it's correct, or it's correct for somebody who has diabetes, or it's correct for someone who doesn't have diabetes. So this becomes an or. I'm going to add these two values. So this is a really weird one because up until now, if it said and, what did we do? Multiply, automatic, right? And if it said or, what did we do? Added, automatic. But now, it doesn't really say and or, and really it's a combination of both. It's an and one to get there, but then it's an or one once we get there. And that's what's kind of weird. So what do we get for this decimal? Did somebody get this, Caleb? Did you get this?
Yeah.
What is it? 0.081. Is that what we expected, by the way? Yes, because what percent of the people had diabetes? 8.3%. Would there be more or less than that percent here? Less, because it was incorrect 2% of the time. You with me on that? So I expect this to be a little less than this one. By the way, on this one, do I expect it to be a little more or a little less than this one?
A little less.
A little less also than this. Okay, let's see what we get. Somebody do that on your calculator. 0.917 times 0.95. Should be a little less than 0.917. What is it?
87.1.
So 0.871. And again, that's probably right. And then what should we do with those two values? Add them together because it's an or at this point. And what percent of the time is the diagnosis going to be correct? What is this? 0.952, right?
Yeah.
So 95.2% of the time the diagnosis is going to be correct. Everybody with me so far? Okay. Let's do the same thing with coronavirus.
14.
Okay, and so we just looked up the stats. So we looked up the stats, and it said people taking the test. Wait, we need one more maybe level. Should we do one more level?
Sure.
Let's do one more level just for funsies.
Yay.
Okay, we got the population here. What percent actually take a test? Look that up for me. 1% of people in the United States, put in the United States. What percent of people in the United States have taken a coronavirus test? This is a good question. I really don't know what it is. Answer is. Anybody know? What percent of people in the United States have taken a coronavirus test? I really don't know, because some people take it twice. Some people have to take it every single week. If like you're a nurse or a doctor, you have to take it all the time. You know what I mean? And so that shouldn't count over and over again. Same with athletes. You got to take it like every single week or two. So I want to know what percentage of the U.S. population has taken a coronavirus test? That's taken a coronavirus test. Did you get it, Riddick?
I'm working on it. It's not really showing.
I know. Should we just take a guess?
Sure.
What do you think it would be? How many of you have taken the coronavirus test? At least once. I would say it's a little less than half, honestly, throughout the nation. Wouldn't you say that? Let's say 30%. Okay, 30% take it, 70% what? Don't take it. Of the people who don't take the coronavirus test, who never test, we're going to say it's just like a normal population sample. And sample of the population, we're going to say about 8% have coronavirus. Oh wait, so we want to go 0.92 don't have coronavirus and 0.08 have coronavirus. Okay? But they don't take the test, so they just go straight to one of those banks. Okay? All right. So, looking at this, let's see if the diagnosis is correct. First of all, we'll just do that on the top part. Okay, you take the test. We're going to find out if it's correct, and then we'll actually figure out what percent of the population really has had coronavirus or does have, just for fun. Okay, and these again are guesses on these numbers, but the rest of them are right. So let's do this part from here though, just to see if it's correct. Okay, so this is the test is going to say has it, and they have it. So this is what? Correct. Correct? You understand what I'm saying? This, they take the test, 19% are going to be false. Oh wait, did I do that wrong? 19% are false positives, right? Okay, yeah. Wait, is that right? I might have messed this up. So you take the test and 19% are going to say positive? Is that right? Or is this the false negatives? Oh, this is the false negatives over here. Oh, this is the percent that come out positive. Yeah, that's right. This is right. Okay, yes?
It's 68% of people have taken it.
Have taken it?
Yeah.
I call BS.
Okay.
And here's why I call BS on that. Do you know what they're thinking? This is how they figured it, and they're doing horrible, terrible math. And let me tell you why they're doing horrible, terrible math. It was just what we were just talking about. They're taking the total amount of population, and they're taking the total number of tests, and they're just what? Dividing it and saying, hey, 68% have taken the test. Why is that not true? Yeah, some people have taken it twice or more. Like I said, if you're a healthcare worker, you take it every single week. Now all of a sudden those tests add up. All of them are saying negative. You see what I mean? And yet, really, you're still just one person that has taken the test. You may have taken it multiple times. I have a feeling that that's what they've done. But, all right, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and we'll give this a little higher. Because, Emory County is a bad example, and kids are a worse example. Because do kids typically test? No, nobody was going to test. You wouldn't test typically because, honestly, you wouldn't know you were sick. So you wouldn't test very often because you wouldn't even hardly know you were sick most of the time. So we'll say, though, that about 40, I'll meet you halfway. We'll go like 45% and 55%. Okay? I'll go that much with you.
Right.
But I really think that the 68% is way too over because I'm guaranteeing you they're counting people who have taken it more than once. You see what I mean? But let's say 45% of the population has taken the test and 55% haven't taken it. Okay, so is this diagnosis correct then? That they took the test and it said it was positive. 19% say it's positive. And of those that say it's positive, they have coronavirus. 99.5% of the time. Everybody with me on that? So that makes sense. Is that diagnosis correct? Yes. Is this diagnosis correct? On this one? No, this is not correct. Everybody with me so far? Okay, they take the test. They're negative. They don't have coronavirus. What's the chances of, and is this diagnosis correct? Yes, that's correct. They take the test. It comes back negative. 81% of them will come back negative. But they're really still positive. 15% of that 81% is now what? Positive. Is this correct? Not correct. Everybody with me so far? So, did these even count, by the way? No. How come these don't count? They never even took the what? Test. Now, they'll count overall in a minute. We'll do that. But for now, they don't count as to whether the diagnosis was correct, whether the test is working. You with me on that? So what's the chances that the test is not accurate? What percent of the time is the test not accurate? So you're going to go take the coronavirus test. What percent of the time is it not accurate? What should I do? I want to add that one and what? That one. Okay, how do I get those values? I have to say, I'm going to take the test, it's going to tell me I'm positive, but I'm not. That means it got it wrong, right? The test was wrong. And what percent of the time does that happen? Do 0.19 times 0.005. Make sure you put in enough zeros on that. Somebody do it on the calculator for me. It's going to be a little less than what? Or a lot less, I should say. It should be a lot less than 0.19. It should be really small, right? Point something. What'd you get? 0.19 times 0.005. Somebody do it.
That's a lot of zeros.
Point what?
0.00095.
Okay. And that makes sense because it's not very often, right? That you test positive, but actually you're not, right? If you test positive, it's highly likely that you're what? Positive. I told you like the one scenario that you wouldn't be. And then you probably are anyway because they probably just gave it to you. But it's rare that you could ever get that type of thing to happen. Okay, but it isn't so rare the other way, is it? You test, it tells you you're negative, but actually you're positive. This one isn't going to be near that small, right? Do 0.81 times 0.15. 0.81 times 0.15. What do you get?
0.1215.
And what should I do with these two?
Add.
Add them. So what would that give me? 0.12245, is that right?
Yeah.
0.12245. So the test is accurate, what? 12.245% of the time. Okay? Or no, inaccurate, sorry. That's my fault, that was my fault. Inaccurate. Sorry, the test is inaccurate, what? 12.4% of the time, which is still fairly high, actually, if you think about it. If we tested this whole class, the test would say negative or positive, right? We don't care which one. But it would, how many people would the test be inaccurate for?
One of us.
At least one of you, maybe two, if we did out the whole class. And the test is wrong. You see what I mean? You would either say you're positive, but you're really what? Negative. Now that isn't going to happen very often. But will it say you're negative and yet you're positive? Yeah, it will do that. So really, is there more people that have coronavirus or less? More. They just don't know it. Okay? There's more people that have coronavirus, not less. Now, how about these guys? Do they have it or not?
Yeah.
Well, if they don't take it, 92% of the time they don't have it. So now let's do just have coronavirus. Okay? They take the test, they're positive, and they have it. These are all have it, right? So what percent of the population has it if we do this? 45% are going to take the test, 19% take it and it comes out positive, and 99.5% of them, or 0.995, have it. So these people for sure have what? Coronavirus. What percent of the population then would have coronavirus looking at it that way? They took the test, they test positive, and they have it. What percent is that? Times those three together. 0.45 times 0.19 times 0.995. What'd you get? Anybody? What is it? Nope, that's got to be wrong.
That's what I got.
0.85 or 8.5?
8.5.
8.5?
Yeah.
0.45 times 0.19 times 0.995?
0.45.
Oh my heck, I'm surprised. I didn't think it was going to be a whole number. 0.45 times 0.19 times 0.99. 0.085. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was giving you percent.
Oh, you were giving me the percent. Oh my God. Yes, you're totally right. Sorry, 8 point what? 5%. Sorry. I was like, no, it has to be a decimal. which it was okay. That was my fault. I asked for the percent and then didn't pay attention. So the decimal you get is 0.085. I was like,
Good job.
it can't be 8.5. That's like 800%. So, but it was 0.85. So of the people who take it, who are positive and have it, what percent of the population is that going to happen to? 8.5% of the population are going to go ahead and take the test because they think they have it, and they're actually going to have it. Is that very high, Bear, by the way? It's actually pretty low. That tells you that there's a lot of people who think they're sick and they're not. Because only 8.5% of them that are taking it actually what? Have it. Okay, who else has it? Who else has the virus?
People who didn't take it.
Yeah, the false negatives. These guys have it.
Those guys have it too.
Okay, but what do we really have to do to get there though? We got to times by one more thing. By the way, can we use this value? Yeah, because what is that value? It's 0.81 times what? 0.15. We can just times this, take 0.1215, and times it by those who took the test. 45% of the population who took the test. And what do we get? Somebody do those two. 0.1215 times 0.45. What did you get, Caleb?
5.4%.
5.4%. That's almost what?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's half of the other percent. There's a lot of people who take the test, think they're negative, and really what? Aren't. By the way, are those the most dangerous? Yes, because they'll go home to their grandparents or whatever. Because it's really not, it's weird, but if we could just take you guys and put you in a boarding school, would it even matter? No, as long as you had young enough and healthy enough teachers. It really wouldn't matter. Because what? What happens if you guys get it?
We live.
You're fine. The problem is you get it, and then what do?
Pass it on.
You go give it to your grandparents, and then your grandparents die, and then you feel it. No, I'm dead serious. That's why you're supposed to wear masks. That's why you're supposed to be careful and all that. It's mostly because of these older people that will die if you give it to them. So that's why we're trying to be careful. So it's just kind of interesting, though, that this is the amount that test negative but actually have it. There's a lot of people. That's pretty high. Okay? How about these guys? They never took the test. These guys still what, though? They got it. They say about 8% of the population is going to get it no matter what. But then these guys didn't have it. They don't know if they have it or not because they never tested. 55% of the population doesn't test. 8% have it. What's that? 0.55 times 0.08.
4.4.
Is it 4.4? And of course, they probably don't have it because what? They're not even getting tested, so they probably don't have it. They're not even thinking to get tested. But are they dangerous though? Yeah, that percent is dangerous too. So there's a higher percent that's dangerous that aren't going to quarantine, which is the only group that's going to quarantine, by the way.
What is it?
Yeah, this is the only ones that are going to quarantine. Are these guys quarantining? No. Are these? That's why the disease still what? So this is what's weird. Because of quarantine and testing and all this, they say are we going to try and stop the spread? You've heard and even seen signs saying stop the spread. Can you stop the spread?
Yeah.
No. Does it slow the spread? Yeah, it can slow the spread by quarantining and that. But is it going to stop it completely? You can't stop it because what are these two groups doing the whole time? They're spreading it. There's more spreading it than are quarantining. Okay? What should we do with all these numbers, by the way? Add them together, and what do we get?
Couple.
What do we get when we add them together? Somebody do that. Add all three of those together, just as the decimal. And what do we get?
18.3.
That's really about the percent of population that what?
They got it.
Have had or have coronavirus. So that's about 20% of the population have had it. Now, there's this weird thing out there that people talk about called herd what?
Immunity.
Herd immunity. Is that even close to getting herd immunity?
What the heck is that?
Herd immunity says the people who got it, the people who are going to get it have got it. Those who aren't going to get it are never going to get it anyway. That's called herd immunity. And then it doesn't matter whether you wear a mask or not because everybody's got it that's going to get it, and everybody who hasn't got it is never going to get it. You see what I mean? Well, guess what it takes for herd immunity?
Everyone's got it.
it's way over 50. It's about 70%. So if you really want true herd immunity, we gotta have 70% of the people in one of those categories. Are we even close? You're not gonna get herd immunity. It just can't, percentage-wise, there's just not enough people who are getting the virus. Now, in a way, that's good, because there are really that many people getting the virus. There's only about 20% that are ever gonna get it. It seems more because, especially when we live in a small community, because what? We know each other. So it seems like if one person has it, like everybody knows that person, right? And so that's why it seems more, but really this is how you do it. Now these percentages, I mean, these aren't that far off. This one might be a far off. There might be more taking it according to what you said. But I really think that those are a lot of duplicates. So I think these numbers aren't that far off. We know these are right. These are right. And we know these are right. Okay? For at least Emory County. Now these are changing depending on where you're at. Because you get, the more people you can test. By the way, Emory County's this right here, guess what it used to be? Like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. 35% were positive that were taking the test. Now it's down to 19%. Why the change?
Everybody already got it.
Nope. That isn't it. We're testing more. Who are we testing? Those who don't have it.
Yeah.
Who are we testing? The schools. Think about how many now, I know it's a big deal because there was like, what, 8 kids or something? That I guess tested positive, 8 or 9, whatever. How many kids tested though?
Like a lot more than that.
A lot. So remember, we were getting back 35% of the test before we start testing kids. We were getting back 35% positives. That's pretty dang high, honestly. Nationwide, by the way, it's more like this 19 that we're at. But we were getting back a lot of positives, right? Before kids started taking the test. How come? How many kids are tested?
A lot.
Think about it. How many are on the basketball team?
At least 1 or 2.
How many are on the girls' basketball team? Seriously. I'd say close to, we'll go a little higher, I'll say it's about 28. And there's 28 on the boys. There's about 28 wrestlers. And there's about 28 well, there's more than that. How many swimmers are there?
There's like 35.
I'd say about 35, yeah, I'd say that too, about that. 30, we'll go 30.
Drill team, cheer.
35, drill and cheer, how many drill?
Like 20.
20 drill, is there that many?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll go 20. How many cheerleaders? About the same?
Yeah.
Maybe a little more, huh? Okay, let's go 30 there. Add all those up.
Let's see here.
What we got? That's 5, that's 5. Well, let's do this side first. 3 eighths is 24, 29. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 twos is 100. And then 60, 169. So let's just round that off and say 170 kids. We tested 170 kids. How many were positive? 9. You told me, right? Didn't you tell me 9? Do that on your calculator. What's 9 divided by 170? What is it?
5.3%.
So,
Probably died.
no, this is good because what? Why is this good? We're testing at a what rate? 5.3%. By the way, if we were at 5.3%, they would take us off of the high risk and everything else, and guess what would happen in our county?
No.
They wouldn't have any restrictions on masks or anything like that because our positivity rate was down to about 5.3%.
Let's test everyone.
You've got to get your positivity rate down. Well, what's the best way to get your positivity rate down?
Test everybody.
No, don't test everybody. That's a big mistake. Test who? Those who don't have it.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have it?
Kids.
Test the kids.
These guys.
So this is actually, everybody thinks, well, heck, we shouldn't test kids. That's dumb. Then we're going to get our numbers higher. Actually, percentage-wise, our numbers are what? Lower, much lower than the general population. Well, we just had open testing to anybody who wanted to test. How many were testing positive? 35%. We just tested the kids at school, and what was our positivity? What was our positivity rate? Only 5%. Do you see why it went down from 35% to 19 overall? Why did it go down from 35 to 19 in the last 2 weeks?
Test
We started testing who? You!
us fellas.
That helps our county. It's weird. People think that it hurts your county. And they're like, I don't understand why they're testing the kids, it doesn't matter if the kids have it anyway. Rah. The key is if we want our whole county to be lifted with restrictions, what do we need to do? We need to test and have more what type of tests?
Negative.
Negative tests. And where are we gonna get them? In school. So realize that's what's going on. And again, people don't realize all this. They just, you know, think that they know everything about coronavirus. I'm amazed at how many doctors are in our community and how many mathematicians, because they can do all this math in their head. You can stop that, by the way.